One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. Our guest today on One Question is Peach Bowl Inc. President and CEO Gary Stokan, and Gary's been with Peach Bowl Inc. since 1998, so nearly 20 years. And for those of us in the industry, we obviously have a really good idea of how well the Peach Bowl is positioned within the landscape of college football, all of the events that go on in the city of Atlanta, and how excited many people are about the coming attraction of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But Gary, I want to ask if you can recount in your history with the organization, if you can identify like what was the tipping point of when the Peach Bowl and or the city of Atlanta really started to gain significant momentum within the landscape of specifically college football?
Yeah, it's a great question, Matt. I think, it really goes back to 2008. We had unsuccessfully made a bid for the BCS when they decided to start a championship game. And they decided to let the Rose, the Sugar, the Orange, and the Fiesta double host their bowl game, and then on a rotational basis, the national championship every year. And so I went to my board and I said, well, if we can't get in the BCS on the backside, let's start a BCS game on the front side and a real celebration to college football. I think that was one of the key points when we started the kickoff game. And then the next year, we recruited the College Football Hall of Fame to move to Atlanta. And I guess prior to the kickoff game in 2008, I should have said that in 2007, we created the Chic-Fil-A Peach Bowl Challenge, which was a golf tournament that we hosted a coach with a celebrity alumnus of each school and donated approximately $520,000 to the school and in an endowed scholarship, and to the coach's charity in his community. We now have over $5 million in endowed scholarships at 23 institutions across the United States, and we have given out since 2002 $19.8 million in charity and scholarship, making us the number one bowl game out of all the bowl games in America in charity and scholarship donations. And that's a big part of our mission. So I guess 2007 got it started, and 2008 starting the kickoff game, 2009 signing the deal to bring the College Football Hall of Fame to Atlanta. And I guess the payoff became when the commissioners, the CFP, decided to extend an offer to us to join the new college football playoff. I believe that was in 2011. So that string in there from 2007 to 2011, we really achieved a lot of success by a lot of people, a lot of volunteers and board members and staff, all with the vision to create Atlanta as the college football capital of the world, or the United States anyway. And I think we're starting to see the fruition of that with the Hall of Fame now open, with our Chick-fil-A kickoff game being the leader in neutral site games. Our golf tournament is the number one golf tournament for coaches. And now being in the CFP, hosting the semifinal this year, and Atlanta will host the national championship next year.
For the kickoff games, Gary, so last year you had, if I recall correctly, Auburn and Louisville. This year you have Georgia, North Carolina, and then next year's Tennessee, NC State. Is that right?
Well, we have two games next year to open the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. On Saturday of Labor Day weekend, we'll have Florida State against Alabama in a blockbuster game to open the new Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And then on that Monday of Labor Day, we'll host Georgia Tech and Tennessee. Both those games will be hard tickets, hard sellouts, which will continue our run of sellouts in our Chick-fil-A kickoff games. And I think, both potentially will have implications on the national championship that will be held in Atlanta at the end of the season, or our Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl game, which will be one of the New Year's Six bowl games.
Yeah, that's right. I can't believe I forgot about Bama and Florida State. Since you guys started this trend of the kickoff classic model, um, is it still very much a buyer's market for you all when you approach an institution because of the financial implications, but also the exposure and the opportunity starting next year, of course, to play in the brand new Mercedes-Benz stadium? Or are you finding that there's a little bit more competition out there because we have games, of course, now at AT&T, Citrus Bowl, etc. What's kind of the marketplace now compared to when you guys really launched back in '09? I think you said.
Well, we have a high degree of interest from a lot of ADs and coaches now, primarily because the business model that we've created with the Chick-fil-A kickoff game is really a win-win-win-win for everybody involved. The fans win because they can get access to tickets to the game, so they can attend in person. And if they can't attend in person, they get a chance to see their team play against a ranked opponent on national TV in the first game of the year versus a nondescript game that they may not want to attend, or the game may be over by halftime. So the fans win. The coaches win because Atlanta and Georgia is the number 2 recruiting base per capita in the country and the number 4 recruiting base overall behind Texas, California, and Florida. So great recruiting base to get great exposure. Secondly, the coaches win because they learn a lot about their team, both individually and collectively, because their team and their players are playing against good competition. So they can use that to coach the kids up over the next couple of weeks in non-conference games to get ready for their conference games. And the third way the coach wins is the off-season workouts by the players, knowing that they're playing against a ranked opponent on national TV. The players really get focused and locked in their winter, spring, and summer workouts. So they're really ready to play when they come to camp, in the summertime. The AD wins because we are paying more than people can net at a home game. So it's a financial windfall for the AD. The TV networks win because the ratings are higher versus a nondescript game to start the season. And lastly, the CFP wins because we provide a major data point in the selection process for the college football playoff semifinal games, because this game really, in a lot of ways, can determine whether you get into the playoff or not, whether you win it or lose it, and what kind of team you play in your non-conference schedule. So I think for all those reasons, this neutral site Chick-fil-A kickoff game works. And so, yes, we have a lot more interest from the teams and the coaches and the ADs. But again, as you pointed out, there is a lot more competition out there with various cities following, the trend that we've started here.
And I'm curious of your view on a national scope. Does the concept have a saturation point? I'm thinking of places like maybe Vegas, depending on what the Raiders do or do not do there in the next number of years. It's not going to happen tomorrow, of course. I'm thinking about the new stadium in LA, a place like Raymond James and the Tampa Bay Sports Commission in Tampa, the new Dolphins home in Miami. And there's inventory issues too, right? I mean, there's inventory of actual games. There's inventory of interest. Is there a saturation point on this concept where if it scaled further, maybe it wouldn't be viable for some cities and facilities?
Yeah, I think you're right, Matt. I think that there's too much of anything is not good, and it's a delicate and a happy balance you try and strike. But with respect to the number of games, I think it's been interesting. The Big Ten has a 9-0-2-1
Right.
scheduling,
Right.
nine conference games, 0 FCS, 2 Power 5, and so the 9 conference games in both the Big Ten, the Big 12, and the Pac-12 cause some limitations to what those ADs can schedule, because in a 5-4 conference schedule, you can do it when you have 5 conference games at home, because you have 3 non-conference games to schedule. And if you schedule 7 home games, you can make your budget. So in that year, they have one game they can schedule, possibly in a neutral game. In the ACC and the SEC, it's a little bit easier because they have 8 conference games. So they have 4 non-conference games to schedule. So it provides a little bit more inventory. And I think that's why you see so many ACC and SEC schools taking advantage of this, because financially it is very powerful and is worthwhile to do.
Right.
Alabama, they've been very successful in playing a neutral type of schedule because they make money both years versus when you schedule home and away, you don't make any money on the away game. When you go away, you make money in your home game. So it's been interesting to talk to different ADs and coaches to see what their philosophies are, who they want to play, when they want to play. And so it's kind of a Rubik's Cube. I mean, we're talking to people all the way out to 2024 now about playing in our Chick-Fil-A kickoff game. And it's good and bad. It's good to get it scheduled, but you may not know who the coach is or, what kind of recruiting class they've had. So it's an interesting Rubik's Cube to put these games together.
So you've had Commissioner Swafford on speed dial to keep them at 8 conference games then, right?
Yeah, that would certainly be our desire to keep them at 8 games because although I know that ESPN has talked to them about not only scheduling 9 conference games, but also if they stay at 8 to schedule 2 Power 5 conference or 2 Power 5 non-conference games, which again will help us as well, right? Because that's the type of teams that we invite to the Chick-fil-A kickoff game.
And that's today's One Question, brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996. One Question is designed to give D1 Ticker subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences. One Question is brought to you by Turnkey Search, a top industry search firm since 1996.